After burying her grandmother, the granddaughter found some savings wrapped in a note in her grandmother's chest. After reading it, she fell dead. Donna wandered through the empty house, rearranging things from one place to another. The house felt empty, even the cat had tucked itself into a corner and didn't want to interact. Today, it felt like both Donna and the cat were left completely alone. Before her death, her grandmother had tried to say something to her, even grabbing her by the hand, drawing her closer to me in conversation. But she never got the chance to speak and fell into a stupor, passing away during the night. I should go through my grandmother's chest, give away her things, she thought. I can even give away the chest. I don't need it, but someone might find it useful. She opened the heavy lid, and a scent of mint and lemon zest hit her nose. Donna squinted. Her grandmother always smelled like that, sometimes even like vanilla when she baked buns. The chest wasn't full. Inside were old yellowed photographs, beautiful scarves and shawls, a few pieces of jewelry, and some rolled up paper. Donna looked through the photographs. They were very old, and the people in them were unfamiliar. She set them aside. She kept the scarves and shawls, took out a jewelry box containing her grandmother's jewelry, and the rolled up paper, which had money inside. Apparently, her grandmother had been saving money for something, or maybe for a rainy day. Donna was already working herself, and her grandmother received a very good pension with constant additional allowances as a labor veteran, so she didn't need money. There was something written on the paper in her grandmother's handwriting. She started reading, and her heart started beating faster. She didn't finish reading, the paper fell, and Donna leaned weakly against the wall. Betty walked out of the barracks and looked at the windows with hatred. In the summer, this rundown building was hidden by greenery, providing shade and making the place more appealing. But in spring and autumn, it was dreadful. The building had long been slated for demolition, but the authorities seemed to have forgotten about it, and those who had nowhere else to go lived there. Betty's mother worked as a janitor, and her father had passed away a long time ago. He had been severely wounded, and when the war ended, he returned home, but his wound continued to plague him, and he lived only a short time. He never got to see his daughter. She was born 8 months after his death. As soon as I have the opportunity, Betty thought, I'll leave this place. I can't take it anymore. She and her mother shared one room, and to make matters worse, her mother had remarried and now lived with a man named Ivan, who spent his days at home drinking vodka and claiming to be disabled and unable to work. This annoyed Betty greatly, as she now had to support him too. She told her mother that she didn't need him, but her mother refused to listen. You reason strangely, my dear. When you get married, I'll be left alone. Do you know how lonely it can be? I went through so much while raising you, so I don't want to be alone again. Yes, it's better to be alone than with such a beast. He's drunk every time, behaves like a pig. Do you really enjoy taking care of and feeding this animal? Don't talk like that, Betty. You just don't know him well. He's very kind and very affectionate, but you wouldn't understand. So let's end this conversation. It's pointless. I've said he will be living with us, and if someone doesn't like it, they can go in any direction they want. So if I understand correctly, you're kicking me out? Think what you want, but I've said everything. Betty walked to work on the slippery mud and thought about what she was still doing here. Today they're paying salaries. I'll start looking for an apartment right away. And if anything, I can stay with Linda, my friend. She'll shelter me for a while. Betty thought work was noisy, as it always was when salaries were being paid. Everyone's mood improved, and they all wanted to go shopping. Some dreamed of buying groceries and cooking something delicious at home. Hey, why are you so sad? Come on, give me a smile. It was Linda, her school friend. After her mother, Linda was the closest and dearest person to her, always cheerful, always ready to help, or like today, just to boost your spirits. Linda's mother also lived with a stepfather who, when he saw Linda, who was 19 at the time, immediately developed a passion for her and tried to rape her. But she managed to fend him off and left home. But the worst thing for her was that her mother never forgave her. She claimed that Linda had tried to seduce her husband, and since he resisted, she got scared and ran away from home. And she did the right thing, as she later told the neighbors. Otherwise, I would have strangled that witch with my own hands for such a thing. Betty remembers how she comforted her friend, who was crying and saying that her mother believed him, and now she didn't want to see her. You know, I left home. It's hurtful. My mother grovels in front of her alcoholic husband, and today she told me that if I don't like something, I can leave home. I understand. I just don't get why you're feeling down. Come live with me. It'll be easier for both of us, and we can split the rent. What? I thought you wanted to live alone. Remember you told me you didn't need anyone? Oh my God, I meant something completely different. So what do you say? Are you in? Linda, you're a lifesaver. They named you Linda for a reason. When things go wrong, you always come to the rescue. Of course. By the way, did you decide to leave home on your way to work? Because I don't see any of your belongings. Oh, Linda, what belongings have you forgotten? How you scolded me recently for looking like a beggar, that I have nothing to wear. Well, let me tell you the harsh truth. Not only do I have nothing to wear, but I also have nothing to take with me. And I can buy a toothbrush for myself. Listen, but we have a decent salary, and your mother seems to be earning too. You only pay for utilities. Where does the money go? You really don't have any new things? Well, my mom's new husband doesn't drink cheap stuff. Give him a liter of vodka as an invalid and only filtered cigarettes. He won't smoke the cheap ones. He's attached himself like a leech and sucks money from my mother, and she's gone crazy, almost kicked me out of the house. Only she seems to have forgotten what kind of money he drinks with. Now let's see how he'll manage without good vodka. Oh, I see. In 3 days, your mom will call you back and ask for your salary. Mine recently told me that even though I'm bad luck, I'm obliged to help out. I told her I'd help her personally, but not her husband. So she cursed me again and left. But I don't care anymore. I've learned to get by without my mother. I'll do the same. I won't help her until that man is gone. Let her figure it out herself. Listen, how about we go to a restaurant? We can celebrate your move to my place and your new life. A restaurant is too expensive. Let's just stay home. We can cook something, have a drink. It'll be cheap and cheerful. Yes, I understand. But I got asked out by a guy. He's been chasing me for a while. He's bringing a friend. So let's go. We'll have a good time, eat, and toast to your new life. I don't know. Plus I'm not dressed very decently. Well, here we go. Clear your doubts from your mind. Don't be afraid of anything. You're already 23 years old. It's time for you to start thinking about marriage, and you're still hanging out with girls. As for clothing, I'll help you out. You know I have a closet full of clothes. They were sitting in a restaurant, and Betty nervously looked at the table. The guys had ordered so much that it would be impossible to eat it all. Expensive champagne, salads, appetizers, 3 main courses. Listen, Linda, Betty whispered, will they have enough money to pay? I didn't bring anything with me. I left my entire salary at home. Well, they're not fools. They know what they're doing. Besides, they just want to impress us, so they're splurging. So relax and enjoy yourself. When the evening was coming to an end and it was time to go home, they asked for the bill. While it was being brought to them, the guy said they needed to use the restroom. So what do you think of Robert? Did you like him? He's been chasing after me for a while, so I'm thinking of giving it a shot. I don't know. I'm not very sure about him. They seem kind of strange. I kept feeling like they were afraid of something. Maybe it's just my imagination. Oh, you have paranoia. You're scared of everything, so you imagine all sorts of nonsense. 10 minutes later, a waiter approached their table and asked for payment. Wait a minute, our dates will be back soon, and they said they would cover everything. But your dates left and said that you invited them, so it's your responsibility to pay. Betty felt a chill run down her spine. She mentally calculated how much everything cost, and her face turned pale. her salary wouldn't be enough, and Linda's too. One moment, they invited us, and they said they would pay for everything. I'm sorry, miss, but I don't care who invited whom. Since they left, it's up to you to pay. Otherwise, I'll have to call the police. Fine, call whoever you want. I think we're not to blame here, we've been set up. So go ahead and call. They were taken to the police station. Betty sat in the car, feeling neither alive nor dead. It was the first time in her life that she found herself in such a situation, and she had never had any dealings with the police before. In the investigator's office, she burst into tears. She felt so ashamed, hurt, and upset that her nervous system couldn't handle it. Please don't cry, it's clear that you girls are decent, and you were just scammed. So please describe how they looked, and we'll try to find them. But still, you'll have to pay the restaurant bill. They don't care who's right or wrong. Alright, but we don't have any money with us. Maybe there's another way to resolve this. I'm curious, what do you suggest? Linda took off her earrings, which she had recently bought. They were gold with small diamonds. She had been saving for them for years and had just realized her dream. Let me pawn these and pay the bill. Perfect, then go ahead, and your friend will stay with us until the statement is filed. When they arrived home in a taxi, it was almost 5 in the morning. It's a good thing that pawn shops in our city are open 24/7. And that these earrings turned out to be quite valuable. Well, that's it. I'm never going to that restaurant again. They taught us a valuable lesson. So, Betty, shall we go to the kitchen to have some tea? Maybe we should sleep a bit, we have to get ready for work in an hour. No, then we definitely won't get up. Let's have some tea, and by the time it warms up, we'll have a little rest. An hour will fly by, then we can wash up, get ready, and go to work. They drank tea and looked sadly at each other. Suddenly, Linda remembered something and burst into laughter. Oh, Betty, if you could have seen your face when the waiter said those guys had left. I thought your eyes would pop out of your head. You should have seen yourself, your mouth dropped open, and you didn't know what to say for a while. They left for a long time, recalling the details of the evening. Listen, that investigator seems to have his eye on you. In my opinion, he was looking at you like that. Why are you making things up? He didn't look at me at all, and even if he did, it's his job, so stop it. Besides, after this incident, I prefer not to cross paths with him ever again. You're wrong, he's a great guy, and I'm pretty sure that after inviting us to the restaurant, he won't bail on us. Yeah, I don't care either way. I'm not setting foot in that restaurant ever again. This is a lesson I'll remember for life. After the girls left, Mark kept thinking about Betty. He liked her right away. He had been working as an investigator for 5 years and could distinguish a normal girl from a scammer. He saw that Betty was genuinely frightened, something new for her. He also realized that she was very pure, kind, and extremely attractive. He found out that she was unmarried, had never been in trouble, and worked at a factory making specialized clothing. He wanted to see her again and promised himself that when he cleared up his workload a bit, he would find her and invite her to the movies. The next day, as Betty and Linda were leaving work, they saw Betty's mother waiting nearby, apparently expecting her daughter. Well, what do you know? I told you so. She's here for money, and believe me, she doesn't need you right now. At this moment, she's thinking about her man. Betty's mother spotted her and smiled, waving her arms. Yes, I know. It's just disappointing. I always thought that children should come first for their parents. And now this, you know, I don't even think about such things anymore. Life is very complicated. It's very hard to figure out who's right and who's wrong here. Rhea approached her mom. Why are you here, sweetie? Why don't you come home? Are you really upset, Mom? No, what are you talking about? How could I be upset? I just thought about it and decided that I'm already quite grown up. So why would I embarrass you? You should live your life in peace, and I'll live on my own. I don't want to interfere with your happiness. You're happy now that no one is bothering you, right? I'm just worried, and besides, you received your salary, and we have no money at home right now. So let's go home, and on the way, we'll buy some groceries and make something tasty. Don't you care about us? Do you want us to starve to death? No, Mom, we won't go. I spent my salary because I thought, why should I buy something nice for someone who doesn't care about me? When I walk around in one dress, torn stockings, and an old coat, and don't get me started on shoes. So like you said the day before yesterday, if something doesn't suit someone, they can just go. So here I am, Mom, rolling away. I just wanted to live normally, pay some attention to myself, instead of working from morning till night for some guy to drink my money. Well, you've really spoken your mind. I didn't expect this from you at all, said Linda, taking Betty by the arm. I've never talked to my mom like that, not even once. I didn't expect it from myself either. I just looked at myself from the outside. I'm young, but I look like an old lady, and I really want to get married, to live a normal life. But if I keep living with them, I won't have any future at all. That's right, then on Sunday, we're going shopping. It feels like this week has been so stressful for both of us. On the weekend, they cheerfully went shopping. Their moods were great, and their hands were busy carrying bags of new clothes. Finally, you'll look like a human being, not like a homeless person. Yes, tell me about it. I can't believe it myself. My heart is filled with joy. I feel like a child who found a gift under the Christmas tree. That's a strange comparison. Not really. I always dreamed in my childhood that I would find a gift under the tree, but unfortunately, we never had a Christmas tree. So I made one out of paper and put it in the corner. I was waiting for a miracle to happen, but alas, it never did. Look who's coming towards us. Remember, it's that young investigator. Listen, he's quite handsome. Mark also spotted Betty and Linda, who seemed to be out shopping as they carried numerous bags. Hello, Mark. I'm sorry, I don't remember your patronymic. It's very nice to see you. It's nice to see you too. And how are you feeling, Betty? Have you recovered from that incident? Yes, everything's fine, thank you. It's just that such a thing happened to me for the first time, so I was a bit disoriented. Don't worry, things like that happen in life. By the way, I wanted to ask you, Betty, what are you doing tonight? Maybe we can go to the movies. Betty wanted to come up with a quick excuse to decline, but Linda beat her to it. She's completely free tonight, so she'd love to go to the movies with you. And if you bring a friend along, I wouldn't mind spending the evening in good company too. That's excellent, then. Let's meet outside the Cosmo Cinema at 7 in the evening. Bring the two of you, I'll have a friend with me, so the four of us can go to the movies together. They said their goodbyes and continued walking. Why did you agree? I actually wanted to stay home tonight, read a book, and relax. Well, here we go again. You might as well say, I'll hang up my new clothes, cover them, and only dust them off, is that it? No, not at all. I just didn't want, that's enough, Linda interrupted her friend. You decided to start a new life, so get started. A guy is asking you out on a date, and she plans to read a book. You know, Linda, I just look at him and remember that evening, it feels unpleasant somehow. You're remembering it the wrong way. Instead, remember your eyes, which almost popped out that night. After these words, Linda felt somewhat lighter. They laughed, hugged each other, and headed home. 6 months had passed. Betty still hadn't communicated with her mother, nor did she have the desire to. She now had a completely different life. If her former neighbors from the building where she used to live saw her, they wouldn't recognize her. She was always impeccably dressed, her hair perfectly styled, and she wore high-heeled shoes. Moreover, Mark had recently proposed to her, and she had accepted. Will there be a wedding? I still want you to wear a veil. By the way, I think you agreed to his proposal too quickly. You need time, but you said yes right away. You're imagining things. Betty blushed and turned away. Come on, friend, let's hear it. I have a feeling that there's something you're not telling me. I'm expecting a baby. For the past month now, I had to tell Mark, and he was so happy and immediately said we should get married. What else could I do? Naturally, I agreed. Well, if you don't make me the godmother of your baby, I'll be offended for life. Do you understand me, Linda? Come on, don't say things like that. Of course, you'll be the godmother, but I think Stephen is being transferred to another city. Are you not going to go with him, right? I totally forgot. Besides, he proposed to me too. So you and I will both be married ladies soon. They decided not to have a wedding. They simply went to the registry office, got registered, and celebrated at home with champagne. Linda couldn't attend because she had already left. She had tried to persuade Betty that Stephen should go alone, and as soon as she celebrated her friend's wedding, she would immediately join him. But he was adamant. In fact, Stephen tried to keep Linda from leaving altogether. He was intensely jealous and constantly checked her whereabouts. 8 months later, Betty gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, and Mark decided to name her after his mother, Elizabeth. You know, my mother was the kindest and most caring woman. Thanks to her, I turned out this way. She raised me all by herself, but at the same time, I didn't need a father. She did everything for me. Sadly, she died young. She had cancer. I remember, I was in a week-long drinking binge because of the grief. Who is your father, though? She never told you? I tried asking, but she remained silent, said nothing. She didn't even try to make up a story about him being a hero who died bravely. You know how single mothers usually talk to their children about their absent fathers. She just stayed silent. That's when I understood that it must have been such a deadbeat that there was nothing good to say about him. Elizabeth was growing rapidly, not just by days, but by hours. Betty couldn't get enough of her little daughter. She often talked to Linda on the phone and shared stories about how her daughter was growing. You can't imagine how much I want to see her. Well, then come over. My daughter is already a year and a half old, and you haven't seen her once. Oh yes, my jealous man won't let me go anywhere. I tell him that I'm going to visit my friend who has a husband working as an investigator, and he's your friend too. He reports to you about how I'm spending my time. But no, not a chance, Betty. He trusts no one, and as soon as he's free, we'll come to visit you. It's been a year and a half already, but he's still so busy. Well, maybe it will work out this year. I really want to see you. Time flew by. Elizabeth went to school, and she was now in the upper grades. Life went on as usual. However, there was one cloud on Betty's horizon. Mark had been feeling very unwell lately. He had frequent heart palpitations. During these episodes, he would turn pale, clutch his chest, and struggle to breathe. Betty would quickly grab some valerian drops, give them to him, and help him reach the bed to lie down. Mark, you're pushing yourself too hard with this job. You need a vacation. You can't keep treating yourself this way. The last time we had a vacation was when Elizabeth turned 11. Now she's already in the 10th grade. It's all work. You haven't really seen how our daughter is growing up. As for me, well, I haven't been anywhere for years. Betty, you knew who you were marrying, and you agreed to it. So stop with the accusations. You knew that work was the most important thing for me, and everything else wasn't as important. Well, if I had really known that, I would never have married you. Because if it's so important to you, then you shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. They argued about this topic quite frequently. Betty felt sorry for her husband, but years of loneliness had taken their toll, and she couldn't hold back her reproaches. Elizabeth didn't get involved in their arguments, but she secretly agreed with her mother, feeling that she had been alone most of her life. She hadn't even been able to go on vacation. She was afraid of how Mark would manage without them. After all, he came home late from work, and he needed to have a meal prepared for him. In the morning, breakfast was a must, so time passed, and Betty was back by his side. Now that he was feeling unwell, she never left her husband's side for the first 6 months. She stayed with him in the hospital, and when he was transferred home, she continued to care for him and be there for him. She missed the moment when her daughter graduated from school, enrolled in college, and had been studying for a year. Forgive me, my dear. You can see for yourself that your dad needs me now. But you're so clever, you handle everything on your own. So please be patient. As soon as he gets better, I'll be with you again. However, 5 years passed, and Mark never fully recovered. One morning, Betty went to his room to help him take his medication and realized that her husband had passed away. She couldn't remember the funeral, everything was a blur. Despite her anger towards him in his final years, she realized she had loved him, and she simply missed his presence. Elizabeth did her best to support her mother. She graduated from college and started working. It was only now that Betty truly saw how her daughter had grown. Thank you, my dear. I used to resent my husband, but now I look at you and think that you're just like me. You grew up without attention, not only without your father's, but recently without mine too. I was occupied with your father. Donna returned from a business trip and upon entering the house, realized that something was amiss. She rushed into her grandmother's room and found her lying in bed. Grandma, what happened? Are you sick? Yes, I'm not feeling well. I called an ambulance, and they gave me an injection. I feel a bit better, but I sensed that my days were numbered. And, you know, I need to tell you something. Give me your hand and lean in closer. It's difficult for me to talk loudly. Donna leaned in, but the medication seemed to have taken effect, and her grandmother fell asleep. Donna shooed the cat off the bed, covered her grandmother, and decided to go to the kitchen to have some tea and rest because she was exhausted from the journey. When she woke up the next morning, her first thought was to check on her grandmother. However, she had already passed away. Donna opened the envelope, took out the money, and set it aside. There was also a note, and she recognized her grandmother's handwriting. My dearest granddaughter, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me or not, but you need to know one thing. Your mother is alive. She and your little brother, who was born with you, are living in England. I made her leave your brother at the maternity hospital because I thought we couldn't handle 2 children. Your mother wanted to go to your father. He called for her, but I didn't let her go. And when I saw that she had made up her mind, I didn't give you up. She took your little brother with her, and now they live in England. Your mother tried to meet with you, but I was so afraid of losing you that I did everything to prevent you from meeting. I've been saving this money for you. Take it, sell the apartment, and go to your family. I think that's the right thing to do. Please forgive me. With all my love, your grandmother. Donna was in shock. She had a brother, and her mother was alive. For years, she believed that she was alone in this world, and now everything had changed. She didn't know what to do next, but one thing was clear, her life would never be the same again. Donna couldn't believe her eyes. Before her stood her mother, father, and brother. Her heart was pounding so intensely that it felt like it wanted to escape her chest. Mom, Dad, and my brother. Is it really you? Donna whispered, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. Yes, sweetheart, it's us, her mother replied, hugging Donna even tighter as if afraid she might vanish. Hi, sis, her brother greeted Donna with a smile. They looked so alike, and Donna could feel that he was truly her brother. We've been searching for you for so long, Donna, her father said, a smile on his face. Donna was overwhelmed with happiness and joy. She was no longer alone, her family was reunited, and the future held nothing but promise. She spent a long time talking to her loved ones, learning their stories, and sharing her own. It turned out that their family had been torn apart due to numerous misunderstandings and deceptions, but now that didn't matter. The family was back together, and everything lay ahead. Donna no longer felt alone, she had found her place in this world and her loved ones. Donna's story and her family's journey became a testament to the power of love and loyalty to overcome even the most challenging trials. He said it so amusingly, apparently, words were a bit challenging for him. Colleagues passing by watched this scene with surprise. Donna's relatives stood out significantly from the local people. Back at home, when they set the table, Betty began to explain. Initially, I used to come every year, but Grandma never allowed me to get close to you. Then, less frequently, but I wrote and sent transfers, which were returned later. Ah, Grandma, keeping the secret for so many years. I can't understand how she managed it. Not even a word before her death, Donna expressed her astonishment. She wanted to cheer, but she didn't have time. Elizabeth and Richard tried to persuade Donna to go with them. I don't know if only for a visit. What will I do there? I know the language poorly, and I know nothing about the country. And here, I have friends and the job. A week later, Donna bid them farewell at the airport. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing, but let everything stay as it was. She had grown accustomed to this life, and she could always visit them. After the plane soared into the sky, Donna went to the cemetery. She sat on a bench by her grandmother's grave. Grandma, I'm not upset with you. I've met Mom and Dad, even my brother. They are all very nice, but I still love you the most. From somewhere, a warm breeze blew, the trees swayed, and the leaves rustled, as if agreeing with Donna's words. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.